Deep in the heart of a vast, untamed forest where sunlight danced through the canopy and the wind hummed ancient tunes, a little girl with golden curls sat alone. Her name, though long forgotten, was whispered by the rustling leaves. Alara. Alara had been left in the woods by hands she could no longer picture, but she remembered the sound of retreating footsteps and the fading lull of a melody that once brought her comfort. She clung to the blanket wrapped around her shoulders, its fabric tattered but still carrying the faint scent of lavender, a memory of home. For days she wandered, her tiny feet bruised by roots and rocks. Hunger gnawed at her belly and fear coiled around her heart like a serpent. Yet in her innocence, she believed the forest itself was alive and watching over her. Birds chirped reassuring notes, streams offered her cool water, and even the shadows seemed to guide her. But one stormy night, the forest's kindness seemed to falter. Rain lashed against the trees, thunder roared, and Alara huddled beneath a fallen log, her frail body trembling. She closed her eyes tightly and whispered a plea to the wind, her voice barely audible. Please, don't leave me. Miles away, nestled at the edge of the forest, a couple named Mira and Thomas sat by their crackling fire. They had tried for years to have a child, but their prayers had gone unanswered. Mira often gazed wistfully at the woods, imagining the laughter of a child echoing through their empty home. That stormy night, as the wind howled outside, Mira suddenly sat upright. Did you hear that? She asked, her eyes wide. Thomas shook his head. It's just the storm. But Mira couldn't shake the feeling. Grabbing a lantern, she insisted, I heard something. A cry. Someone's out there. Reluctantly, Thomas followed her into the tempest. The wind tore at their cloaks, and the rain soaked them to the bone. Guided only by Mira's unwavering instinct, they pressed deeper into the forest. Just as Thomas began to protest, a faint sound reached their ears. A soft, broken sob. Following the sound, they found her. Alara sat curled beneath the log, her golden curls matted with mud, her eyes wide and glistening with tears. Mira gasped, dropping to her knees. Oh, my sweet girl, she whispered, wrapping her arms around the trembling child. Thomas stood frozen, his heart pounding. The sight of the little girl awakened something within him, a fierce protectiveness he had never felt before. Slowly, he knelt beside Mira and gently brushed a strand of hair from Alara's face. You're safe now, he said, his voice breaking. Alara looked at them with a mixture of fear and wonder. She didn't know these people, but their warmth felt like sunlight after a cold, endless night. For the first time in days, she allowed herself to believe she might be safe. They carried her home, Mira humming lullabies as Thomas stoked the fire to dry her tiny frame. Over the weeks that followed, they pieced together fragments of her story, though much remained a mystery. What was clear, however, was that this little girl had found a new family. Alara's laughter soon filled the house, her presence healing wounds the couple didn't realize they carried. And though the forest had once been a place of abandonment, it now stood as a witness to a love born of second chances. Years later, as Alara grew into a bright and joyful young woman, she would often walk with Mira and Thomas through the woods, her voice light as she told them stories of how the forest had kept her safe. And whenever the wind whispered through the trees, she would pause and smile, for she swore it carried a wordless promise. You are never alone.